Welcome to this edition of ONTV News. I'm Ian Locke. We have an update for a story we did last week on the Township's budget situation. ONTV News reported that the Township is facing a shortfall of roughly $1 million in the Public Safety Fund, even if the current millage rate is renewed by voters in 2012. The Township Board has moved to look at dipping into the Township's general fund to cover the shortfall, plus make cuts to the current policing staff levels. Discussions also arose over raising the millage rate or creating a special assessment district which would allow the Township to establish a separate police millage. Several board members were not interested in raising taxes anytime soon. Board members were also reluctant to move on a special assessment district without public discussion or a public vote. A budget was also presented by Lieutenant Bruce Naley, who managed the Orion substation, and it included significant reductions. ONTV will continue to bring you updates as they become available. The Lake Orion School District has moved to update their school cell phone policy. The old policy allowed students to have cell phones on school grounds, but the phones were to remain off. The revision essentially allows students to place them on vibrate or silent, something the vast majority of students in middle and high school already do. It was emphasized that the ultimate discretion would be left up to individual teachers. With the change in how cell phones are used, specifically the newer generation of smartphones, some teachers have begun to use phones as a tool to complement the learning experience. Phones can be used now to administer review quizzes and generate real-time feedback via text message back to the teacher. Language instructors also use preset numbers students can call to hear a pre-recorded message in a different language, with students recording their responses through their phones. District administrators emphasize that cell phone use in the classroom is not mandatory, but an option for a teacher who wishes to pursue this technology. The district will look at other school districts that have similar policies for guidance. Be sure to tune in to the school board meetings live the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month on Educational Access Channel 22. ONTV is working with LOCS to have these meetings replayed throughout the week as well. In the meantime, head over to the Orion Township Public Library where DVD copies of all school and government meetings can be checked out free of charge. The Orion Township Public Library has announced that it will be ending Sunday hours. The announcement came as a surprise to many patrons of the library. Sunday hours currently run from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., but will end come January 1st. Lost will be the second Sunday concerts, a popular program which has been a staple for years. Budgetary concerns and funding shortfalls all came to a head and forced the Sunday closures. The library will continue to operate at current weekday hours, Monday through Thursday, from 9:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 9:30 to 5 p.m. How can you help the library? Be a friend. The Friends of the Library organization is always looking for volunteer helpers for book sales and fundraisers. You can also drop a tax-deductible donation to the library. For more information about becoming a friend of the Orion Township Public Library, call 248-693-3000, extension 350. Students at Stadium Drive Elementary had a surprise visit from a Homeland Security helicopter on October 27th. Federal agents Hugh Straub and Dan Houting landed their helicopter next to the school and met with students to discuss resisting drugs and being safe. The visit was part of Stadium Elementary's Red Ribbon Week of special activities to promote healthy and safe living. Straub, on the right, who also has a student at the school, also answered questions about their jobs and the helicopter. We're going to take a quick time out, but when we come back, we'll have our experts panel. Our financial expert is in the studio once again with us. You don't want to miss it, so stick around. This is ONTV News.
Did you know that you can watch ONTV on the web? How cool is that? Just surf on over to www.orionontv.org to watch your favorite on-TV show. A service of Orion Neighborhood Television.
This is you, and this is your community. You have a great idea, but how do you get that idea to your community? ONTV has your answer. You see, ONTV is a part of your community. We help you get your idea on cable, so everyone you know will learn about your great idea. So, what are you waiting for? Get your idea on cable and into your community. Get your idea on TV. Welcome back. Our experts panel is up next. Are you a risky investor or more conservative? Our financial experts in studio with us to help you manage your portfolio.
Hello, my name is Mark Greenlee, and I'm a financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial Services. Today we're going to be talking about active portfolio management versus passive portfolio management. And we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the two and how they might even be blended or melded to use a hybrid strategy. So the first thing to do with any investment strategy is to determine what your risk profile is. And that's something that really you should take a survey, you should sit down, you should really think about it, because it's easy to be aggressive in an up market. But the problem is that when the market turns bad, that aggressiveness, if you don't follow through on it, you can sometimes end up getting out at the worst time of the market. So it's better to understand your risk tolerance, to choose it, and to be comfortable to stick with it and see through the market ups and downs. Also, with regard to risk tolerance, it's worth noting that actually, your ability to absorb risk actually diminishes as you get closer to retirement. So the younger you are, really, the more aggressive you can afford to be, and as you get closer to retirement, you should be more conservative. I frequently see people, and I observe in them that they develop an investment style and they maintain it during their whole life. And that, to me, really that goes against the general principles of investing for retirement. That is, as you get closer to retirement, you become more conservative. On to talking about active versus passive portfolio management. Let's talk a little bit first about active management. What active management really assumes is an active portfolio manager or someone with that strategy believes basically that they can outperform the market by shifting money around and by making changes to the portfolio. So an active portfolio is looking to outperform an index. Let's say somebody wants to outperform the S&P 500 by 2% annually. That would require an active portfolio management strategy, and someone would determine what they thought they needed to do to beat the market. To contrast, there's a passive portfolio strategy, and those are people that believe that it's not really possible in the long term to beat the market, that the market is very efficient, and those people tend to focus on costs instead, and generally those people tend to be strong advocates of exchange-traded funds or ETFs. And just in a nutshell, an exchange-traded fund when you buy that, you'll be buying a group of stocks or securities. However, you'll be doing it at a lower cost than a mutual fund. What you'll be giving up in an exchange-traded fund is you'll be giving up having an individual management team making decisions, and ETFs tend to follow an index or some kind of tracking, they track an index. So, but what they will give people is a lower cost on average than a mutual fund. So people that believe it's hard to beat the market, well, they want to save money, and ETFs can work well for them. But in both these strategies, it is important that you have the right allocation of your investments, that you understand what asset allocation is, and that you make a good balance within your portfolio. And it wouldn't be the same for everyone. Someone that was an aggressive investor would probably have more stocks and less bonds in their portfolio. They might have more commodities. They might have more alternative investments, and we'll talk some other day about alternative investments and the role they play in a well-managed portfolio. But one other thing I wanted to talk about today is blending those two strategies and using what's commonly known as a core and satellite strategy. And what someone can do is they can use the core of their portfolio. They can manage that in a cost-effective manner, maybe using ETFs and trying to, say, okay, I'm not going to really, in general, be able to outperform the market in the core. And then they use satellites. They use smaller portions of the portfolio, and that's where they try to outperform the market. And it is possible you can be a successful, certainly a successful passive investor. There are people that have been successful as active investors, and there have been people that have been very successful as well in this hybrid strategy where you use a core satellite. What's important is that you know your markets, you know your risk tolerance, and if you work with an advisor, and I encourage you to look into that you have a good relationship with your advisor. So today we talked about active versus passive portfolio management. My name is Mark Greenlee. I'm a financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial Services, and I do have a brochure or an educational piece that I can send you about this. If you want to give me a call, you can reach me at 248-865-2517. Thank you very much. Bye.
For more editions of Experts Panel, be sure to tune into our YouTube channel. Just search for Orion on TV and subscribe. A synthetic drug is making a comeback in Lake Orion. What is it and what do you need to know about it? We have Lake Orion Police Chief Jerry Narsch with the answers.
Hi, I'm Julie Brenner, the Executive Director for the North Oakland Community Coalition, and we're here today with Police Chief Jerry Narsch to talk to you a bit more about synthetic marijuana.
Thank you, Julie. As many of you know, synthetic marijuana has been around the community for a while. In 2010, the Michigan legislature enacted a bill that ultimately became law, and that law was signed in October of 2010. It effectively banned K2, Spice, Genie, and all forms of synthetic marijuana across Michigan. However, recently, there have been some changes that I know even the coalition is aware of. Mm-hmm. The coalition worked actively with us back in 2010 to get this banned, and now it's back.
It's back. And we've actually addressed it within the school system. Beginning of November, Mary Angelopoulos, the superintendent, did send out some information regarding K2, that it is back. It's very dangerous. They're looking at it as a synthetic marijuana, which it has the same effects as marijuana. And children and youth are really being adversely affected. And we are looking to the community to prevent its sale. It is in as close as Rochester from the last that we've heard, mm-hmm. and which means basically it would be in Orion Township as well. That the police department last year, in October of 2010, proactively went to all the locations within the Orion area to have it removed from the shelves. And from some different legislation and some issues around that, there are different ingredients that are being added to this. Basically, it's a spray-on chemical, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a spray-on chemical that goes onto the K2 or synthetic marijuana that changes its properties. And by having one ingredient change, it can be deemed as legal again.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell, thank you. And the danger, the real hazard for everyone, it's so important that parents and even youth, if you're watching this, that you understand that this isn't a natural occurring product. This is a chemical that's manufactured in an unknown environment with really unknown materials in foreign lands. It's sprayed on a substance that's not intended to be ingested, and then it's brought here in order to ingest. Previous lab analysis of the last year's K2s showed that it is both a carcinogen, which means it's a cancer-causing element, and there is a chemical in there that will stay dormant in the body, much like lead or mercury or any other substance that the body cannot purge. That means that if you experiment with this stuff when you're 16 years old, at age 50, it's still going to be found in your cell structure. If you continue to smoke that through time, I'm sure that there must be a compound effect that the human body would have with these residual levels. It is a toxin, it's dangerous. It's still showing up in emergency rooms. It's causing panic attacks and other respiratory and hallucinogenic issues as a result of ingesting this stuff. And it's back in the area, so we're advising parents and really everyone in the community be alarmed, be concerned, and if you see it at a gas station or at a smoke shop or at a party store, it's usually going to be marketed in a small package, looks like a very small package, and it's going to say K2 Spice Genie, something of that type, contact the law enforcement agency responsible for that store, whoever would respond for that store, and let them know. Let us deal with it. There is legislation pending right now, and I think ONTV is going to be kind enough to let us come back and talk more about the success of that legislation. And hopefully very soon we're going to be informing you of the bill and the bill numbers, the Senate bill numbers that are out there, so you can contact your representative, your senator, and encourage them to get behind these bills to make the changes necessary to the legislation to ensure that all chemical substances and all products marketed as a synthetic marijuana are added to the list and forever banned. So right now we would say if you're not sure, that's okay. Contact your local law enforcement agency, let them know where it's at, let us check and look into it. If your child has it or they come home with it, it's technically still contraband and it is illegal under Michigan law. I would encourage you to turn that into your local law enforcement agency so it could be tested and determine exactly the source or what type of chemicals are there.
For the full conversation with Chief Narsh and Julie Brenner, check out our program guide at orionontv.org for replay dates and times. Before we head to break, here's our community calendar of events. You're watching ONTV News. This is you, and this is your community. You have a great idea, but how do you get that idea to your community? ONTV has your answer. You see, ONTV is a part of your community. We help you get your idea on cable, so everyone you know will learn about your great idea. So, what are you waiting for? Get your idea on cable and into your community. Get your idea on TV. Welcome back. The Lake Orion girls varsity volleyball team has had a historic regular season and a dominant postseason so far. On February the 8th, the Dragons met up with state power Birmingham Marion for the regional semifinal. Marion, ranked third in the state and holder of 2 state titles, rolled into Dragon Fieldhouse to take down the 7th-ranked Lady Dragons. The hometown crowd was on edge all night, hoping to witness something not seen in 30-plus years, a berth in the regional finals against Troy. The match did not start well for the Dragons, falling behind and dropping Game 1 25-19. The Dragons saw their hopes of continuing their magical season almost go up in smoke when they fell behind in Game 2 24-19. Marion had match point in their sights and a stranglehold on the match when the Dragons roared back, taking the next 6 straight points and winning the game 27-25. With the raucous student section and the team mantra, never give up, the Dragons would roll through Game 3 25-16, retaining momentum. With Marion on the ropes, the Dragons began Game 4 to close out the match. In what's being described as a classic, this final game saw the Dragons fall behind with Marion holding match point in their hands on 2 occasions, one at 24-23 and again at 25-24, only to see the never-give-up Dragons survive and advance. The Dragons were full of emotion after senior Maddie Hutchison served 2 consecutive aces to propel them to the regional finals. A match that hopefully erased the bitter taste of a lost league title just a couple of weeks prior. The Dragons survive and advance. ONTV will have cameras at the regional title game against Troy, with highlights airing on next week's program. The boys and girls cross-country teams were in action the weekend of November 5th at the MHSAA State Finals held at the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn. The boys team had a strong team in individual outings all season, peaking at the state meet. As a team, the Dragons placed 11th overall, with Clarkston finishing in 14th place. The state champions once again were the Milford Mavericks, their third state title in 8 years. Top individual performers for the Dragons were TJ Carey, who placed 4th overall with a time of 15:32, followed by David Diaz in 14th place with a time of 15:56. Ryan Singles and Justin Prodzik finished 72nd and 87th, respectively. With Carey and Diaz returning next year, the Dragons look to make a huge push for top 10 in Division I. On the girls' side, senior Ashley Bartrow concluded her Lake Orion cross-country career in 141st place with a time of 20 minutes. That's all for this edition of ONTV News. I want to thank you for tuning in. For the crew for ONTV News, I'm Ian Locke, and we'll see you next time. If you have a story you would like seen on ONTV, give us a call at 248-693-3377 or drop us an email at ontv@orionontv.org.